Brandon Staley should be fired and Dennis Allen's on the hot seat. But I've never been a fire the coach type of guy unless it's really necessary, especially mid-season, because it's just turbulence. Because then, yes, the interim head coach still counts the head coach, so now you're getting more turnover. You're doubling your turnover for the year, right? Especially if you're going to go hire somebody else after the year. So now you have head coach, interim, and then a new head coach all within like a calendar year. So I'm not a big fire the coach guy, but sometimes it's necessary. But I don't think the Carolina firing was necessary. I don't think this is one of those times that I will back somebody up. If the Chargers came out and said, hey, Brandon Staley's been relieved of his duties, I'd say, okay, I think I back that decision. Clearly, when you have a superstar quarterback, one of the highest paid defenses in football, I believe the third highest, I checked the other day, and you have that offensive talent, you have just the amount of talent on that roster, especially headed by a great quarterback, to lose that consistently, that just doesn't happen, right? And especially the ways they do it. So I would support that decision. Dennis Allen, we could have that discussion. I'd probably support that decision as well. But again, I'm not usually a fire the coach guy, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. So you can tell people facts, and they just don't care. They just blatantly don't care. Or you could say, hey, it would take, I don't know, a couple $1 billion to clean up the homeless problem in California. You could just tell people that. They'd be like, no, let's send it to Ukraine anyway, huh? Let's just ship it over there. I could just tell you a fact. You wouldn't believe it. I could tell you a fact, political, science, whatever genre, whatever field you want that fact in, and some people just blatantly won't believe you. Same thing goes with football. I can tell you for a fact that there is a direct correlation between the amount of times you fire a head coach and the amount of turnover that you have in your coaching staff and winning. There's a direct correlation, or I guess an inverse correlation. The more you fire head coaches, the less you win. There's an inverse correlation. There's a direct correlation with how little you fire your head coach and how much you win. Right? I could sit David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, down. I could tell him that right to his face. It clearly would not have mattered. Here's one fact, and this isn't going to be a very long rant because there's one fact that you really need to know. That's it. Look at the top 5 teams over the last, let's go since 2000. I think since 2000, it's a good benchmark to have. Since 2000, that's 22 and a half seasons. Top 5 teams. Patriots are number 1 in terms of winning percentage. Patriots, Steelers, Packers, Ravens, Eagles. Patriots have had 1 coach. Steelers have had 2 coaches. Ravens have had 2 coaches. Packers have had 4 coaches. Eagles have had 5 coaches. This is including interims, again, because that's more turnover. That's 14 total head coaches. In case you're wondering, the Raiders have had 15 in that span. One franchise have had 15. The bottom 5 teams, the Browns, 12. Lions, 11. Jags, 9. Texans, 6. Raiders, 15. I'm no mathematician, but that's a total of 53. 53 head coaches for the bottom 5 teams in football since 2000. You can't win like this. You blatantly, flatly cannot win like this. You cannot find, I'll pull up the list right now. You can't find a top team that has run through coaches. Maybe the Colts recently, but they seem to find their guy in Shane Steichen. Seahawks have had Pete Carroll for a while, and before that they were pretty stable. The Chiefs have been stable. Dallas has been stable. Right, I'm looking at the top 10. The Saints have been stable because they had Sean Payton for a while. You could argue they should make a move now, but again, stable franchise, wins a lot. It's a fact. That's like saying, hey, I think that quarterback's pretty good because he throws a lot of touchdowns. And you blatantly look at me in the face and go, no, I don't actually like that. I don't like him throwing touchdowns and winning football games. It's the same argument you have with Justin Fields. I know he won on Monday night, but what is he, like 7-26 as a starter? Like, the pass rating's not there. The completion percentage isn't there. The efficiency isn't there. The winning isn't there. There's some leadership questions that I do have. I think he's turned it around a little bit, but the whole maybe we should be coached better. Maybe don't say that at the podium, right? Like, maybe pull the Jalen Hurts card and just be like, we got to be better. Jalen Hurts, after a win, looks more pissed than after losses sometimes. He's just like, we, didn't play to our standard. Like, that's exactly what you want from your franchise quarterback. Those are facts that you just simply cannot dispute. People will, though. Of course, people will. It's the same thing with coaches. To have 53 head coaches combined in the bottom 5 teams since 2000 is unbelievable. The Browns want to point every finger except the one that's right back at themselves. 12 head coaches since 2000? How many quarterbacks have you had since 2000? How many quarterbacks have started a game? Like 70 in that span? Like, it's ridiculous. And look, I get that the league has changed since 2000. I get that you have to pivot off things a little bit quicker, and I've been a proponent of that, right? For example, Kenny Pickett, right? You don't get 3-4 years anymore like Eli Manning did, like Peyton Manning did. It's not the 90s anymore. It's not the early 2000s. I understand that you have to pivot quickly. But high levels of turnover, and I'm not talking on the field, I'm talking coaching staff, GM, quarterback. High levels of turnover do not equal success. It's very, very evident. I could do the same thing with the amount of quarterbacks that these teams have had. I didn't, so I'm not going to try to guess. But if I could venture a guess, the bottom 5 teams would probably be close to 100. The top 5 teams, now, if we take out like backups that started for a game, which just starting quarterbacks started the majority of the year, you're probably looking at 35 to 40 for the bottom 5 teams. You're probably looking at 10 to 15 for the top 5. I mean, just off the top of my head, what you got? Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Mac Jones. You got Big Ben, Tommy Maddox, and Kenny Pickett. Green Bay, you have what? Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Jordan Love. Ravens, you have Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson, basically, right? You have a couple guys early 2000s. And Eagles, you have Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz, Donovan McNabb. The list is very small. Turnover does not equal success. I don't know how else to put it. Again, I told you this rant's not going to be very long. That is a stat that's just frankly indisputable. And for Carolina to fire Frank Reich when they have almost no talent. And here's what's even more stunning, is that reports are Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud. How good does that idea look now? Huh? And I'm not saying that C.J. Stroud, because they're 6-5 right now? I'm not saying Carolina would be 6-5 with C.J. Stroud because I think there's more talent in Houston. But they wouldn't be 1-10 or 1-11 or whatever they are right now. They wouldn't be firing Frank Reich. Right? So owners get their way, whether it's good or bad, whether it's for the better or not. And now NFL franchises used to be worth $500 million. These owners used to be worth a couple $100 million. They are now worth billions and billions. David Tepper, write that check. By Frank Reich, I will pay you more to not coach for me. He's now going to be paying 2 head coaches. Whenever he hires a new coach next year, he'll be paying his salary and Frank Reich to not coach for him. Because it's a rounding error. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's balancing his checkbook. Throw a couple extra zeros on there for Frank and send it out. Doesn't matter. It blatantly does not matter. For the better or worse of the franchise, owners don't care. They're more and more impatient, and they will be willing to move off coaches no matter what the cost is. And that's the sad reality of the situation. These teams want to point every finger except the one that's right back at themselves. 53 head coach for the bottom 5 teams. It's ridiculous. I've done this rant before. 53. Top 5, 14. It's the only stat you need right there.
Yeah. I think it's funny, too, because last week, I think it was last week, you brought up that you would like to be a head coach in the NFL that gets fired because you just get paid to
or
do
college
nothing.
Football. Like, for example, Jimbo Fisher is going to make thousands of dollars a day.
Yeah, to not coach.
He's going to make like 5 figures a day to not coach for the next 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's insane.
I would love to work my way up to get an opportunity. Of course. Would I like success? Well, yeah, because then I get paid to have success too. But how much easier would it be to be fishing in Boca? You know what I mean? Like how much easier would it be to get your chance, completely blow it, and just go fishing in Boca for 5 figures a day?
You're deep sea fishing, best.
Dude, I don't even like fishing.
Waters in the world.
I don't even like fishing, and I'd fish in Boca for that number. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I would too. Just picture 53 guys in your head. That's how many have coached the bottom 5 teams. That's just insane. That's a ton of people.
I mean, think about whatever room you're in right now. Imagine 53 dudes standing in it.
It's a lot of dudes.
And now imagine 14. It's not that many guys.
Yeah.
That's a normal amount of guys in a room.
It just shows you the stability of franchises and just, the culture just isn't there for those bottom 5 teams.
Oh, clearly. Very clearly not there.
No. Very interesting. Keep it in mind, and we're going to be adding probably a couple extra coaches to the whole firing list here pretty soon.
Well, and that's another reality. That's another stat that I give you. There are 6 coaches fired every year. At least every year, 6.
Yeah.
So now we have what? Josh McDaniels is gone. Raiders. Oh yeah. So Josh McDaniels, Raiders fired him. Carolina fired Frank Reich.
Yeah.
There's got to be 4 more dominoes. Call your shot. I'm going to go Brandon Staley. I'm going to go Ron Rivera. I'm going to go Dennis Allen. There's got to be 1 more. Call me crazy, and it might not be a firing. Might be more of a walk away. Might be more of an agreement. Build a statue. Bill Belichick.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're Robert Kraft and you have that pick and you're guaranteed probably Drake May, are you really going to let Belichick have another shot at a quarterback when we've seen how... I know Mac Jones isn't that talented, but do you want to see him mess it up again?
No, and I also don't want him to... If I'm Robert Kraft in this situation, I don't want him screwing up the
draft.
The feeling in the room, the draft, but also, like, people don't like playing under Belichick.
No, they don't. They blatantly... I mean, old-timers kind of did, like, you know, your Edelmans and those like real gritty players. But like in terms of it's a new age in the league nowadays. You have to it's adapt or die. It's Moneyball, adapt or die.
Yeah,
and he's not adapting.
You have to be able to have a relationship with your players too, and it just seems like he's rigid and tough.
Well, and it's think about it, like, and again, I know he's not purposely sabotaging the team, but if you were to purposely sabotage a team,
this is exactly what you would do.
You would run out the Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
You would draft a guy who doesn't have that much talent. You would then give him a defensive coordinator as an offensive coordinator. You would blow every draft pick. If you look at his 2021 and 22 draft, I think 3 of them actually are still on the team and actually getting quality minutes.
Didn't he draft a punter?
Drafted a punter and 2 kickers, and then 2 guards in this past draft.
What are you doing?
And all of them are cut except for 1, and then the kicker. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not great. All right, let's